They went to Newark, and there was work there in the railroads. However, his brothers talked him into going to Ohio. They kept saying there's a lot of work at the coal mines, they pay well, blah, blah, blah. And they finally convinced my father he should do that, which was a big mistake as far as he was concerned. When we moved from the coal mining town that we lived in, which was Roswell, Ohio, we moved to Canton, which was a big city compared to where we lived. And my father went to work, continued with the railroads, although he wasn't well because of all the dust that was in his lungs. And he worked for 18 years altogether. When we moved to Ohio, we rented a house for a year because we didn't know what we were going to do. And that's when the Big Depression hit. And we had no heat in the house. The electricity, we used hurricane lamps. We had an outhouse. We didn't have a bathroom inside. And of course it was cold in the winter because we had lots of snow there. A lot of people starved. A lot of people committed suicide. And a lot of people got very, very ill because they had different diseases that cropped up without eating vegetables or, things that you needed. When the strike started and the Depression started hitting real bad, they weren't working, they were laid off. My brother used to go along the railroad tracks and look for pieces of coal that would fall off the train, as it went by. And he would bring home these pieces that he would find, and we would be able to burn it in the furnace and have a little heat in the house. Otherwise, we didn't have any at all.
What was the most difficult part of the Great Depression for your family?
Well, I think the worst part is not having any work. They belonged to the union, so they couldn't go to work and become a scab. A scab is one who doesn't believe in the union. The unions did a lot of good, even though some people don't realize it. They started people who worked overtime. They started the fact that they got time and a half, double time, and triple time on Sunday. If it wasn't for them, people would still be working 10, 12, 16 hours for 8 hours. They started a lot of things that were good. Then, of course, then the big bosses get greedy and they get their hands in everything and they ruined it for everybody. But actually, they were the ones that started all the good things to begin with. So my father and brother belonged to the union, and they were very happy with them because of how they protected them. Fortunately, she had canned so many things before that happened. She used to buy things by the bushel, all kinds of vegetables, and she would can. And if it hadn't been for that, we would have starved during that time. But she had so many things canned, like over 1,000 quarts. We had fruit all winter long because she would have peaches in big jars like that, and not just 10, 100, 200, 300 of just that. The other cherries, she would can those, and she'd can at least 300 or 400 or 500. And then she'd do the same thing with other fruits. And then the vegetables, she'd make sauce, her Italian sauce, and she would can that.
Was it the union that did the strike against working?
Oh, it took 6 months. 6 months. That's why it was so bad.
And that was the union strike?
Yeah. It was.
Mhm.
But that was because they wanted the people to get paid properly. When the workers went back to work, then things got better for us, and we went to look for a house, and we bought one in a nice area. After working for the coal mines, then he went to Canton, Ohio,
And what year was that?
and that was in 1932, 31, 32.
What was school like back then?
Well, it was very stern. The teachers didn't take any guff from anybody, believe me. They used a ruler, and they didn't hesitate when they needed to. We had to go to Mass every morning before school. I hated that. Oh, I hated that. Deal there, and, you're so sleepy anyway.
Do you know at all if the community was affected by the Great Depression?
When we moved to Canton, we rented at first. Now the rent was something like $20 a month. It was a house, 3-bedroom, We were the first people in the whole town to get electricity. And when we put the lights on, oh, we were so thrilled. We could see it. It wasn't dark. And all the townspeople came over. They wanted to see it too. They couldn't believe it. They said, gee, we should do that too. We lived across the street from some kind of church. I don't know what it was. But there was a cemetery right next to it. So it was right across the street from us. And one night, my mother said, oh my God, close the blinds, quick. And I said, I was a little girl and I was shaking. I said, what's wrong? She said, don't look out the window. Well, of course, you tell a little girl not to, she's going to, right? So I peeked out, and there was a cross burning. We had Ku Klux Klan over there. Even though my parents weren't educated, they made a trip that would have been, I think, disastrous in some cases. But you see, they made a good home for us, and eventually, they did very well. Without an education, today, you're dead. You have nothing. But in those days, if you were a hard worker, you got places.
What do you think the lesson was from the Great Depression?
The Great Depression? Well, I think the lesson is to really, really make sure that you have a job you can depend on and save enough for emergencies. That is a lesson my mother has always preached. Save for emergencies. You never know what tomorrow brings.